JHK here for Fight Night Picks. And joining me right now is one championship lightweight king, Christian Lee. Christian, it's been a while, but I'm happy to get you on. Thank you so much for joining me today.
No problem, man. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Of course, we know that you just had a daughter earlier this year, man. Fatherhood is something beautiful. Just explain to me what has it been like for the last couple of months.
Man, the last couple months have been great. They've really been amazing. And since my daughter's arrived in this world, it's just been amazing. Every day, spending at home with my daughter and my wife is just such a blessing, and I'm really grateful to have this time off after my last bout, and I'm really enjoying the time at home.
Of course, man. And you're probably still balancing training somewhat, right, with fatherhood and the duties of being a father, right?
Yeah, so I'm still training, spending a lot of time at home, but I'm still getting in the gym, still staying in shape, and it's great because my family and I, we run the gym, and so I bring my wife and my daughter in with me when I train, and so really I'm never apart from them. We're able to do everything together all the time.
For sure, man. That's a huge benefit for you. And how many more children are you gonna have, man? You're only 22 years old.
We're gonna have a couple more. Right now it's just great having Aaliyah with us, but yeah, definitely some more in the future.
For sure, man. And you talk about training, right? And you don't have to worry about having a fight anytime soon, so you get to kind of sit back and add to your arsenal, improve some aspects. What have you been focusing on?
So in the gym, I've just been focusing on really just everything overall. There's no specific area that I'm focusing on right now. It's really just continuing to develop my mixed martial arts game as a whole. We get in there, we do MMA sparring, just kind of working on reinventing old techniques, and also coming up with some new ones along the way. So in terms of the training, that's what I've been up to, and then just at home, I've been doing a lot of lifting. It's a great way to just get a workout when I'm here at home. I got some weights at my house, so yeah, that's what's been keeping me busy.
Oh, so you've been putting on some muscle then?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, you look like it. It looks like your shoulders are getting wider from my view right now.
Yeah. In case that welterweight title presents itself, then I'll be ready.
For sure, man. Let's get into the landscape of the division, man. And the number one topic, and I'm pretty sure you've talked about it, but I want to talk about it too with you, is was Eddie Alvarez, man. Eddie Alvarez, he's very vocal on like what he wants from the promotion and what he wants for his next fight. What does he need to do to get a shot at the champ, to get a shot at you?
Yeah, I've said it in many interviews before. I know that Eddie's been very active on social media. He's been, trying to call me out, trying to, say that he deserves the fight or that I'm protected. But the truth is, he's got one win in one championship so far. Technically he's 1-3 in the promotion. I know they overturned his fight with Yuri Lapicus to a no contest. So in terms of that, he's still 1-2, and he's actually a guy that I do want to fight because of the fact that he's a former UFC and Bellator champion. So for me, it's it's fighting a guy who's done a lot and accomplished a lot in his career. It's a chance for me to really go in there and sort of take everything that he's worked for. And I know that Eddie wants to take everything that I've worked for, but the fact is he just hasn't been winning in one championship. He hasn't put together a win streak, and we'll see if he can get a few wins over top contenders. Then let's do it. We'll make the fight happen. Especially now that one championship is working on breaking into the U.S. market, I think it would be a great fight for the fans and for the company. But until he gets a few wins, at least one win over a guy in the top 5, then we can't make that fight happen. It really wouldn't work out, and it wouldn't make sense.
I know you just said you want to fight him, right? But do you think that if you do face Eddie Alvarez, let's say if he does win 2 in a row, gets a win over a top 5, contender, and comparing that to like when he entered the organization, right, coming from the UFC, would it be worth as much to your resume, do you think?
Well, the thing is, the first fight that he had in one championship was against Timofey Nastyukin, right? And he knocked him out in the first round. And then, a few fights later, I go on to finish Timofey in the first round. So, I feel that even if that fight never happens, I mean, we can clearly see based on similar competition, the divide in our skill sets. So, for me, I know for a fact that I'll beat Eddie on any given day. But I still think that the fight would be great for the fans and great for the promotion, just because of the fact that he's coming in as a recent UFC champion, and he's got a decent reach in the American audience. So, definitely I think it would bring a good amount of American fans to watching one championship, and I think that would be the main reason to make that fight.
All right. You clear all the bases, man. You're clearing all the bases. Now, another guy that has pretty much blew onto the scene is the South Korean fighter, Rae Yoon Ok, right? His last fight, he did beat Eddie, and Eddie says he didn't win, but but it is what it is. Now he's 2-0 in the division. What have you thought about him, man? Has he been impressive to you?
Yeah, I've been impressed with Oak since he got signed with the promotion. Going in and beating Murat Gafurov and then beating Eddie Alvarez. Those are two tough opponents to have in your first two fights in the promotion. So he definitely did a good job in winning those. I think he's a talented fighter, and right now he's got good timing because of the fact that I've recently cleared out the whole division, and he's the only guy left in the top 5 I haven't fought. So I do feel like, if there's a guy to fight in the lightweight division, he's the only one left. There are a lot of top contenders, a lot of tough guys that are floating right underneath that number 5 spot. But right now, he's really the only guy I haven't fought in the top 5. So I think he's done a good job. And, definitely I think we could be seeing that fight happen soon.
I spoke to him recently, a couple weeks back, and he told me that he's ready to fight you. But if you want to take some time off, spend time with your baby, and and come back at the end of the year, he's cool with that. He's not gonna like call you out and try to pressure you to come back early. He even said he'll fight somebody else if he needs to. What do you think about his comments?
I saw Oak's respectful call out, and I really like him. I really think he's a good guy, and it's funny. That's got to be the nicest call out I've seen. He's very respectful about it, and I do think he's deserving. So when I make my return, I really think that we could see the two of us squaring off in the cage. So yeah, I like how he handled it and how he went about approaching his call out, and yeah, I think that we could be fighting pretty soon.
All right, now Oak, he's sitting at 3. Shinya's at 2. Doggy's at 1. You beat Shinya. You beat Doggy, but man, Shinya, since he's lost the title to you, he's murdered everyone, right? Is a rematch something that sits in the back of your mind, close, very close down the road?
So Shinya, he was, a very dominant champion. I feel like he's really, him and Daggy are definitely the top 2 guys in the division, aside from me. So I think that he's a very dangerous opponent. He would still be a dangerous opponent today. But, I've heard him say in recent interviews that he doesn't want to fight me. He wants to just keep fighting. And I think right now he just wants to get, the biggest fight, the biggest draw. I think he was calling out Sage Northcutt. I think he wants to make a few other super fights happen. So I think him and I are kind of just at different points in our career right now. So, but knowing Shinya, I wouldn't be surprised if, he wants to fight me tomorrow and he changes his mind. But as of right now, I think the last I checked up, Shinya isn't interested in a title fight. So, if we're not fighting, then yeah, we can stay friends.
For sure. Now, after Shinya won his last fight, Sage kind of sent a message to him, a respectful message, and then Shinya responded in Japanese, and I guess Google Translate, it says "eat shit." Did you see that? And how did you respond? Is that just Shinya's, personality, his like kind of humor?
I saw that, and yeah, I was laughing because Shinya, he's a funny guy. You see him in his fights, you see him break guys' arms, flick them off after he's submitted them. You see that crazy side of him. For me, I met him at Evolve MMA. We started off as training partners, and he's just really like one of the nicest guys ever. He's super humble. He's super respectful. But then when he fights or when he gets into that fight mode, he has a different personality that he brings out, and he's a real killer. He's got an attitude, a chip on his shoulder, and I just laugh because it's funny. I know those both sides of him, and for me it's funny. It's fun to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have some of that in you too, man? Because you, outside of the ring, you're respectful. You're always smiling. Nothing really bothers you. You know what I mean? People could talk crazy, but it's just like you've kind of brushed it off your shoulders. But when you get into that cage, man, you flick it on. Like, is that something you learned from Shinya and you observed from him?
Well, I wouldn't say that I learned that from Shinya. I would say that we kind of have similar personalities in that sense because yeah, Shinya, he's a really nice guy outside of the cage, and in the cage he's a completely different person. And I kind of have a similar approach to fighting. For me, outside of fighting, I like to enjoy time with my family. There's not many things that can bother me, but in the cage it's all business, and it's just about making that switch. When you get in the cage, whoever you are outside of it, that's no longer you. You got one job, and that's to finish the person standing in front of you. And so it's just about zoning in on nothing else but the task at hand. And I think that Shinya and I share a similar trait in that sense.
All right. Now, you mentioned earlier about that 170-pound title, the welterweight title, and how close are you to making that move, or could we see you go back down to featherweight? And because I feel like that's the most explosive matchup right there. If you do move divisions, Tan Lee.
I have seen Tan's last performance against Martin. He did a great job. It was a very close fight between the two of them, and he was able to get a good knockout at the end. However, right now my frame doesn't really support going down to featherweight again. I started off my career in the featherweight division when I was 17 years old. 5.5 years of fighting later, I'm walking around at a much higher weight. When I get down to 170, it takes me a good 8 weeks at the very least to make that weight with a good diet, a good descent. But if I was to go down to featherweight, I'd really have to drain myself, to take off a bunch of muscle that took a long time to put on. And right now, I'm just not interested in that. I'm interested on going up divisions, just getting bigger and stronger. And so right now, the welterweight belt would be the next division for me if I was to plan on doing a super fight.
For sure, man. I could only imagine what weight you'll be at in 5 years. You'd be like 205, right? With all that weightlifting you're doing.
And I keep moving up.
Yeah, all right, for sure. Now, Chatri has talked about the one versus UFC event. He wants to put that on, man. That means that you would face either Charles Oliveira or Kamaru Usman if that were to happen, right? Give me your thoughts on Oliveira first, and how do you think that matchup would play out?
I think Oliveira is a good fighter, and I think he had a great performance against Michael Chandler in his last outing. It was a really, really close fight, and he was able to do a great. Oh, so going back to that, I think that Charles Oliveira, he would be a very good good opponent for me to face in the cage. He's got an overall very well-rounded skill set. He's very good on the ground. He's now rounded out his game to have good striking and good wrestling as well. So I think it would be a very interesting matchup for the fans, and I absolutely believe that it would be a good matchup for me as well. So if we were ever able to get a cross-promotion event, one championship against the UFC, lining up the two lightweight champions, I absolutely believe I'd come out on top, and I'd love to see that happen.
Yeah, what do you think separates you from Oliveira, though?
Well, for me, I think Oliveira is very well-rounded, and we're similar in that sense, but I just feel that I'm a little bit deeper in mixing up the ranges, in being a mixed martial artist as a whole. Taking nothing away from Oliveira, he's very dangerous on the ground. He's a good striker now, but I have a very strong sense of belief in my own skill set, and I feel that I'm a better fighter everywhere.
And Usman, man, he's a totally different fighter from Oliveira. That could be a possible fight too. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Kamaru Usman, he's a tough guy too. He's a very strong wrestler, and now he's rounded out his game as well. to having great knockout performances. So he would be a very good fight as well for me. Taking nothing away from Kamaru, because I've seen what he's done in the octagon. He's done very well, but I feel that I can really mix up the ranges on him, and I believe that I'll finish him as well.
One thing that I've noticed throughout the years following you and seeing you develop is the ground and pound and the power that you possess in that aspect. It's pretty different from the rest of the division. Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I do believe that I have heavier ground and pound than everyone else in my division.
Now, where does that come from? Is that something that you just developed it practicing, drilling? Your father must be behind it.
Yeah, big credit to my dad, and I think it just some people have that extra amount of power, but you know we definitely train that a lot. We get on we get the dummies, 150-pound dummies down. We lay it down, and we're doing circuits nonstop, heavy bag work. Doing ground and pound in multiple positions. So I think that just doing those reps over and over, hitting the bag as hard as you can, the same way that championship boxers will do hundreds of rounds on the boxing bag. It's basically doing the same thing on a grounded opponent. So just repetition.
Usman, do you think he's better than GSP?
You know, the thing is, GSP, he's always going to be a legend of the sport because of the fact that he was able to defend his belt so many times, get so many wins consecutively. But in terms of, just the fighter, looking at who's got the better kill instinct, I think right now Usman's showing that he's got better kill instinct because of the fact that he's going in there finishing his opponents in his title defenses. Now, taking away nothing from GSP, he did an amazing job in his run as champion. But I think we saw later in his career as he was, getting more decision wins over his opponents. And Usman now is, as he's being the champion, he's able to get more finishes over his opponents. And I think that's what's really starting to set him apart as a welterweight champion.
Yeah, and same thing with you, man, as the champion. Well, you've been
Yeah.
finishing guys before, but as the champion, it just seems like they're just coming a lot faster against the highest level of competition in that division. Props to you. Now, the last question for you is, when's the earliest we can see you back in the cage?
I definitely, like I said before, I'm definitely going to be back in there before the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that I could be in there as early as September.
Okay.
So nothing signed yet, nothing really talked about yet. But I do believe I'll be back in there soon. Maybe even get two more in before the end of the year.
Yeah, nothing's impossible, man. Thank you, Christian, for the time and enjoy the islands, man. You live in the best place on earth, man. I wish I was there right now.
All right, thanks, man. Good talking with you.